An unexpected farewell to the quick stop and a start to a new life is around the corner. One last day as a clerk at movies, unexpected infidelity to unexpected going away gifts. We have it all because tonight we continue our shift as we do a discussion of sorts on Kevin Smith's Clerks 2. This is a production that's making sure your cow tippers don't taste like piss and flies. And you were listening to a It's Not Bestiality, It's Interspecies Erotica edition of Just Four Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. And in the kitchen with me today is Mr. B-Dawg, Mr. Brandon. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm ready to talk all Star Wars and Lord of the Rings here. Clerks 2. No,
Wondering to rule them all.
I'm excited. I think rewatching this, I know you and I were talking beforehand too. I have always been kind of very judgmental about this film, but
Very judgmental.
yeah, like I'm not saying I don't like it, but out of the three, it's my least. It still
I feel like every time I bring it up, I could just see the disappointment in your face. You're like, I'm about to freak the fuck out.
I just feel with this movie, it wasn't my favorite because of the crude humor. But I feel like now getting a better sense of it and rewatching it a few times, it's made me go, I actually understand it more and its purpose. And it's actually made me appreciate it more, where now my ranking for it has went up a little bit. So I do have a little props for it.
Excellent.
I don't know if it'd go over 9, but it would still be close to that range. What was your take going back and rewatching this before we get into our normal?
Well, yeah, no, I forgot how funny it was. I haven't seen it in a few years, and I watched this a lot when I was younger, when it came out. Because when this came out, I was like early teens. I
I
was
say you're close.
right.
You're close to my
This
age.
came out to 07, right? This came out in 07?
06.
06.
06.
What does the Joker say? That's one of my favorite parts. Anyway, yeah, I was like, okay, so I was 12. Probably shouldn't have been watching this movie. That's a little bad. That's a little bad. No, but when I watched this, revisiting this, I actually there was a few moments where I kind of laughed out loud where I was just like, oh man, and like they couldn't do that today. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, no, there was, and then just little nuances. I think Randal's excellent in this movie. He was excellent in the first movie. Jeff Anderson killing it again. I think he was meant to be that character. And we're gonna see that in 3 as well. He is just
He killed
always
it in 3.
a shining star when it comes to these movies.
Yeah.
Along with the introduction of a new character in Elias, and I love Elias, and we'll probably talk more about that and
Elias is
everything.
my
But yeah,
favorite part of this. Like, he's been one of my favorite characters from 2, and when he came back, I was kind of scared in how they were going to do 3 with him. But then he comes back, and he has one of my favorite parts of that number 3. He just has some of the funnier parts in that whole film. But I agree with you. Like, Randal is by far one of the best characters, not only in this movie but through the trilogy. You know, he sets that tone. He pretty much, it's like we said, he's the one that makes Dante see the stuff that Dante doesn't want to see.
doesn't want to address. Yeah, no,
But yet
100%.
Dante's the realist out of the two of them when you really think about it. He's the one that goes, I'm more grounded, where Randall's like, open your eyes and look at the world. You know, see what see what you're missing. And that's a great point to like really bring up with him, because I feel like in this movie, that's what made me go, yeah. Do I like some of the scenes with this movie with him? No, I do not. I will not address those scenes because it's very racial and it is very, yeah, I'm not going there.
We don't want to get banned also.
No,
so
I know. For Kevin Smith to do this in his movie, I was really shocked.
Very shocked. Yeah, I mean, I think this was also an era where more raunchy, more over the top kind of stuff was happening in movies. I mean,
Superbad
this
was
was an
during this
era
time.
Superbad kicked it all off, and then you had, Old School, you had Road Trip, you had, um what were the movies that were coming after this?
Zack
All
and Mary was up there.
Zack and Miri and yeah, he made Zack and Miri this was Zack and Miri was the next movie he made
Yeah,
after
that was
this,
it. That was 2 or 3 years after this one.
yeah,
Mhm.
and we see it in Zack and Miri for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just I think that's where we get a lot of that from,
Right.
is it was a different time, and I don't think we get as much of that in Clerks 3, right?
No, like Clerks 3 has its moments, but it's I feel like that's where and I think we'll get to that when we talk about it, is that is probably the most real I've ever seen Kevin Smith films get. I do feel that is all these movies when you and I really think it kinda kicked more off with this, where you see more Kevin Smith come out. This
Mhm.
is where, like we said, I feel like in the first movie, you kind of saw that with Dante, but
Yeah.
this one, you see it through both of them because Dante has his moments that you would think, yeah, that's typical Kevin Smith. But then Randall has a lot of good moments with him. And both characters, I feel, is really expressing what Kevin Smith is feeling.
Mhm.
Right. And especially in the third one. The third one really will hit home when we talk about it. I feel like that is something that excited to talk about because it is one of my favorite movies of all time, especially from Kevin Smith. Um, but let's go into our favorite part of this. What is the budget? Pat, what's the budget for this film?
A lot higher than the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Perfect Blue. We go from a Prius to now a few
You're driving a
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini?
Yeah, a few
Yeah.
Lamborghinis. That's kind of the same thing. It started off with $28,000 or $28,000. Where do you think this budget is now?
I'm thinking more of like $25,000,000.
Probably like 20 less.
20 less, only 5,000,000?
Only 5 million estimated.
Oh, wow.
When you really think about this, you got to remember a lot of these actors are still not big names. Like Jeff Anderson and Brian O'Halloran, they're not big name actors. They're B actors, I would put it
I
as.
feel like Rosario Dawson's really the only big name actress in
But
them.
again, she wasn't all that big. You got
She
to
was in Men in Black too.
Yeah, but remember, you got to remember when probably Clerks was being filmed is when that was released. So you got to remember, a lot of movies that she was in weren't big movies yet, and she wasn't a bigger name actress. She still credits Kevin Smith for kind of helping her move in that direction, and I think
Mhm.
she's the best part of this film. I like Becky a lot. I do. That's actually kind of where I got my crush for Rosario Dawson. Let's do this movie.
Was through this movie?
Yeah. Um, but like even then there's a scene like even in Comic Book Men where she goes back to the comic book shop and they have all her gears that she puts all her gear back on and everything. It's just sentimental. It shows you how much she loves that character. Um, but um, so yes, it was 5 million for the budget. Opening weekend, it already earned its money back at ten
I
million
bet.
61,132 or $61,132 or 10 million, pretty much. Okay.
I do remember when this was on the verge of coming out, it was a big talk because of how impactful the first movie was.
Right.
The cult following that happened from that first movie, and we covered it. You guys can go check that out. But yeah, I remember as a kid, like, this having pretty good marketing
Mhm.
for the most part. It seemed I mean, I knew about it and I was 12.
Well, movies alone
Yeah,
was a big thing. Like,
and I think that's what's the cool thing about this movie that makes it work too is it fed off a lot of his prior movies. Like, we saw movies first in Dogma,
yeah,
and then Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and it goes on from there, but you saw a lot of little things and a lot of different people that worked with him that were in this movie, so I think that's the cool part of it too.
right. Now, the gross worldwide, they earned 26,986,174. That was their final.
Okay.
So they gained about 20 million off what their budget was. So it wasn't a superb success, but it was a success. Um, Now with this, and I want to bring this up. Now we know, like we just said, or you brought up, the budgets were completely different from the first one to the second.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel I don't want to say the quality of the film went better because I feel like that's a dumb question to ask. But do you feel like with the higher budget, you feel that they might have lost a sense with the story, or do you feel it's still the same Clerks? I've heard that a lot from people too, but it's not the same. And it's like it might be
I
raunchy, but it's still the same story.
Well, you gotta think about this too, is the way this movie starts off with, it's not supposed to be the same Clerks.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole movie's in color.
Yeah.
This whole movie's in color. He could have done a black and white movie, but it was part of the story where things weren't the same as how they used to be, and that's what this movie is all about, is getting outside of is basically making change
Yeah.
and trying to adapt with it, but inevitably going back to how it knowing what your happy place was, and that's what it was the quick stop. So, when you see in that very first scene when Dante walks up to the door, opens the door, and everything's on fire, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah, that was
"Oh,
like right
shit,
part of yeah,
I
he
left the
closed
coffee pot on again." Yeah, and then he closes it again and just tries to make sure yeah. But I think I think it makes it work very well.
yeah,
Um, and then that's the cool thing about it is right away you see that, okay, wow, this isn't gonna be the Clerks I thought it was gonna be, which is fine. Maybe first watching it, people could have felt that way, but I think with the way everything was executed in this movie, I think it needed the raunchier parts in it because this was a different piece. This wasn't, it's just a different movie, but I think it is so important to the story.
agree.
The story between the 2, especially with Dante and Randall, but important for Jay and Silent Bob as well.
Yeah,
It's just it adds to the lore of them, and I think everything comes full circle as we know and we'll talk about, but I do think I think the second movie was the perfect sequel for the first one.
I wanna bring up something you just said, but the whole thing of change, because I actually like that through this whole film. I think, like you said, you brought up the whole, going from the convenience store to movies. But not only that, you see that with all 3 of the main characters. You see that with
Mhm.
Dante, with him being engaged and possibly moving to Florida, trying to accept that change. And then you have Randall trying to find a way to adapt that Dante might not be part of his life anymore, or he might be moving on with his life and he's gonna forget that. But you also see that through Becky's eyes, because
Yeah.
Becky has been a proponent of she doesn't believe in love, like not platonic love. Like she might love something or someone, but not to the point where it's marriage or happily ever after. But then she sees that with Dante, which we do see that they did screw around, and you find out that she's pregnant. It's that scene. I feel like and we'll talk about it, is the dance scene. That's where I went. I really could get behind these two. And
Mhm.
I don't want to talk about the whole scene because some of the scene was kind of stupid, especially the bathroom scene with the dude dancing, like Kevin Smith dancing in the bathroom, pretty much.
Oh, I love that.
Uh,
I love when they do when they have the Michael Jackson playing and
yeah,
everything, and he's like, "Get up, girl," and it's Silent Bob because he's Silent Bob, he's like, "Get up, girl,
yeah.
show me what you can do." Yeah, yeah.
I
It was perfect. It was so good.
I feel like there's times where that scene doesn't fit very well because,
Mhm.
but I feel like the main thing you got to remember, this is for Dante and Becky, not or not for everybody else. And that's why I said I agree with you 110%. This is all about change. This is all about everything. But not once do I feel that you lose the whole purpose of what this story means. You
Mhm.
know, like, do I put this over one? No,
No.
I won't. One is still good. I enjoy one. I enjoy three more than this, but I will never say this movie is terrible because I know I've done it in the past, but now I'm like realizing, the importance of it and the symbolism for it for Kevin Smith, which kind of leads to my first point. Let's talk about I'm gonna wait till the Randall jail monologue till later because I do feel like it is a major point.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this. Dante's and Randall's midlife crisis that we see in the film, and I feel like this kind of really starts taking place when their butthole of a person that or the pickle comes into play.
Lance Dowds,
Yeah.
who was played by Jason Lee.
Again, another usual in Kevin Smith films.
Mhm.
Um, Comes in and pretty much like tells them like, "Oh, look at you guys. You guys are still flipping burgers and working at convenience stores, and look at me. I've made a life for myself." Having that moment, it really kind of put them in a midlife crisis situation because when you really think about it, they already kind of are like that. But that's what really sets that tone.
Mhm.
What do you feel or how do you feel it mirrors Kevin Smith's own struggles with his life and career direction and even fear of moving on with his life?
No, I think he's notorious for doing that. I think in a lot of his movies, especially you see it more, I feel like, in Zach and Miri. Um, but yeah, no, I think the Clerks were like the epitome of him expressing who he was and um everything he's going through in life. But this movie, you see it a lot more and how it reflects, I think, like what you just talked about with that jail scene, and we'll talk more about it because that's also, I think,
That's a
not only
pivotal
the
moment.
not only my favorite scene in the movie, but I think it is actually the most important scene in the movie.
In all Clerks, I would put it as. It's the one that
Yeah.
sets Clerks 3 in emotion. It's what sets everything to happen the way it does. And I agree with that with you. But like going didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree with
No, I mean, that was pretty much that. I think Kevin Smith has always been good at being good at he's always done good at expressing symbolism in his movies. I mean, this movie alone, I think, which is obviously, it has a bigger production value to it. It's got a way bigger budget.
Yep.
But I also think that this movie, you're seeing a better Kevin Smith. You're seeing he, he was doing things a lot more differently than what he was doing in his first movie. I mean, what we had Mallrats, we had Dogma, we had Jersey Girl,
Chasing Amy.
Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and then we had this.
Yeah.
So I, excuse me. I think because of that, you see it a lot, like, through camera work in this movie, I think, and that's one thing I was gonna hopefully bring up, which I'm glad I am now, but, especially when we find out when Dante is gonna have Becky's kid
Yeah.
or Becky's pregnant, and Randall goes out there and he, they're having the fight,
Are you gonna have a
near the
masculine baby? Like
Yeah, but I love, like, watching them. I love that in movies when they do that, but the camera is rotating around them and they're the focal point, but it's moving around. It's just so good because you wouldn't expect it in a movie like
Yeah.
this. Um, the first one I think was a lot more grittier and it had a lot more, I guess, just stationary
Yeah,
shots
straight
to it.
shots. It wasn't
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of camera work involved with this. I think in Clerks, but in Clerks 2, I think it was just you're seeing a better version of Kevin Smith as a director. And it shows. Again, nothing's gonna beat what the original was and what the original did.
mhm.
But again, man, I think for a sequel, especially a sequel that came out, what, 12 years?
Yeah, it was
12
'94 to 2006, so 12 years.
Yeah, so that's a 12-year difference. I mean, that's obviously it was successful, and we just talked about that for what the budget
Yeah.
was. So,
And I think it's a good point to bring up too, is at this point in time, Kevin Smith really had nothing to lose. At this point, he
mhm,
was gonna put out what he wanted to put out, if you liked it or not. But I feel like there's always a good thing with Kirk movies. I always feel with these movies, they're always different points or different stages of his life.
mhm,
So, like his first one, of course, it's his very first film. Then you get this one 10 years in, but at the same time, it's one of those like a lot of the movies that he has made were considered flops. You had like you said, not Chasing Amy, what's the other one? Jersey Girl. Jersey Girl was a flop. It wasn't that
yeah.
great.
Great
But
movie.
see, it's a cult classic now, but a lot of people during that time frame, that was the whole J-Lo, Ben time frame that didn't go
Yeah.
well. But
So weird that J-Lo's in that movie, by the way.
huh?
It's such a weird
Well, you gotta
I s
remember, it was a thing that Ben Affleck wanted because that was his wife at the time.
yeah,
So,
it's a weird yeah, it's just weird to think about, I guess, when it comes to Kevin Smith.
yeah. Like, it just she wasn't in it very long, but yeah, we get,
Yeah.
but, like, even then, like, then you have this where it's kinda like his midpoint, and then the 3rd one kinda takes place when right after his heart attack,
Mhm.
and that's a big focal point in that movie is the heart attacks, you know? I feel like that whole thing all these movies have something to do with his life, and I feel like with his career direction at this point, he was I feel like this is where I loved Randall in this movie because you can see clearly Kevin in him, where he's like, "I'm tired of what others think of me. I'm going to do what I want to do. If you don't like it, there's a door." And you see that through Randall's expressions. You see that the way he does things and how he reacts to something. That whole jail scene, that is the big scene of the movie, which I think we just should go right into it. Having that moment in the jail monologue is, like we said, is the biggest vocal point, not just in this movie, but in Clerks, period. All of them.
Yeah.
At first I never really appreciated the scene because I just went, oh, he's crying to Dante like, "Hey," but looking at it as a symbolism piece, it was, "I want to do what I wanna do. This is what I want," and Dante's that focus of what the world sees,
Mhm.
and Randall's the more of the person now that's what Kevin sees.
I think that scene hits you a little bit different as an adult because you start to understand different values, and that whole monologue and conversation is just it's a real conversation, and that's the cool thing about this movie is because it just feels so real. It's an everyday type of situation for the most part. To say that with an asterisk with the going away entertainment, but, um go ahead.
Well, it's another good point to bring up is you just see the love they have for each other.
Yeah.
That Randall, even though he might be a wise ass to Dante and he thinks he knows it all, he still has that love for Dante. Dante's
Mhm.
been his only friend. Dante's been one of the only ones there for him. So losing him, that's where that whole change comes in. He wasn't ready for that. He didn't want to lose him.
And you
And
see that the most when they go to the go-karts,
yeah.
and they're coming back, and he's talking about he's like, "What do you care? You're leaving."
And that's one of my favorite scenes too in this movie. It's another vocal point for me for all Clerks films is that drive
Mhm,
home from the go-karts, is that whole
mhm.
where he talks about, why is it that you want to go here of all places to get your mind off things? Because it was once a happy point in my life. All of us have that moment. All of us have that one thing in our life that we go, I gravitate to because it was a happy moment in my life. It brought simpler times. It brought everything. And that's where I feel with Randall, that's where at that point, that's when I went, that's Kevin. That is straight up Kevin through this film. It's not even Dante anymore. It's Randall. And to have that moment with him in that scene, going back to the jail scene where he pretty much states it, he would rather buy the quick stop and make it their own was such a big scene because it made Dante even shut up and realize, huh,
Yeah.
like,
Like, wow, this is something that we can do, you know?
and like it's like we said too, it's the way Kevin looked at the critics, at his haters, all that. Like, I want to do what I want to do. If you were doing it, you would do what you wanted to do. But now it's time for me to make my moves and make my decisions. And having that moment with him and Dante was such a powerful scene. That whole time, even Jay and Silent Bob being in there, I thought was a great changing moment for them
Mhm.
because it's like you brought up, they also changed through the film. That they're still Jay and Silent Bob. Jay and Silent Bob are still Jay Silent Bob, but the whole thing is they're realizing in order to get what they
Not
want,
with the power of Christ on my side.
yeah, it's the Holy Bible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We went to jail for suspicion of mischief.
Yeah.
That's that. driving around with a deployed airbag.
Yeah, it's just a stupid scene. I but going into this too, you see that change with them too, because they realize they're part of this too. They're part of this little duo. They've been together since the 90s pretty much to now. And when you get Randall's point of view, even though Randall thinks, he's still wrong in certain cases here. But in reality, you see what his whole intentions. That's why I said that first scene, it kind of harkens back to one of the first scenes of the movie where they drive past a quick stop on their way to movies. And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
"Do you miss this place?" And he never answered. And then that's when Dante answers for him and says, "Of course you don't." So again, Kevin Smith allowed others to talk for him at points. He was listening to what producers wanted. He didn't get to do what he wanted.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? That's a big point to me. Watching this again, that's what actually made me go, this is going to get a higher ranking for me than what I thought it would. So originally it was
Mm-hmm.
like a 6.2. I did not have this very high. I think another part too is all the actors that come back in it. All these
Yeah.
actors have something to do with Kevin Smith, or can credit Kevin Smith for kind of boosting their careers. People forget Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, like we've talked about in the last episode, got their careers boosted by them.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Lee got his career boosted by him. This is so weird with me with Jason Lee. I see him in this movie, and I think Syndrome right away because this was 2 years after Syndrome from Incredibles that came out.
See, I think of seeing him like that, I was like, my name is Earl.
My name's Earl. Well, he was filming that during this time.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was like. He had the whole haircut and everything. I'm like, that's Earl. That's Earl Hickey.
And then 2 years later, we got Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yes, we did.
And that was
Also another good Jason Lee movie. Highly recommend. Or Stealing Harvard with Tom Green.
That's a good one. I'm not a big,
Good
Jason
comedy.
Lee I've grown to like over the years. He was not one I ever gravitated to. I liked his voice acting roles.
He's in Monster House.
Yeah, he is. As I said, I like him in his voice acting roles. I feel like like we said, we talked about
voice.
Well, like Syndrome, like him as Syndrome in that film. Ooh, like
you could hear his voice and be like, oh, that's Jason Lee.
Yeah, it was easy in that film, but just seeing how creative he got with the character, it was just like, that's his best role to me. And then Pickle Farm, That was my favorite part of the film, was when they're like, "Oh, look at you, it's Pickle Farm."
No, he's great. I mean, his standout role, I think, was Mallrats.
Yeah.
Like,
I would put him in Chasing Amy, because he's in Chasing Amy too.
Him as Brody in Mallrats, though, is
spot on.
So good. So good.
But did you want to add more to the jail scene? Because that's what I said. That's the biggest point in the movie, is the jail scene.
Yeah, and I think I like how everything kind of culminates to that pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I also like to sprinkle in, like you said, with Jay and Silent Bob being in there, and then how there's obviously a trend with Silent Bob's dialogue. Like, he usually only has like 1 or 2 lines per movie, and he's like, "That's your cue." He's like,
"Yeah,
I got nothing."
My favorite one always with him will be Clerks 3. Just because he has a couple moments that he does it finally. Like he goes, "What, does he even know how to shoot? Like, why do you want to shoot in black and white?" He goes, "Why do you want to, well, no." And he goes like on this whole spiel of like what.
Yeah.
And then like the second time around, when he yells at when he yells at Jay, because he couldn't get his line right. So he's like, "I'll do it myself." Just like, it's just. But
I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, Silent Bob is still, to me, out of the 2, is probably my favorite, just because I like the nonverbal expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when he's dancing, like, even in this movie, when he's dancing in the little drive-through thing, like, like when they're sitting there making fun of Elias, sitting there like, "Oh, help me, help you," Grandma, Grandma, tell me what it's like.
Grandma, what was it like to be on the holiday
And then
song?
when you see Kevin Smith, like, it's just like it's just funny to watch him. It just truly is. I That's why I said just that scene. It really it really kind of takes off with them. Now the ending for this film with them buying the quick stop. How do you feel the symbolism worked there with even not even just Kevin Smith's life, but just overall in everybody's life too? That this was a moment for them too. This was them making that change and being something
Mhm.
in life.
Yeah, definitely it definitely ended the movie on a really good tone,
That's
and I
my favorite
think
song of the
it
movie
also
too.
it also got you kind of anticipated like, "Oh, wow, they could totally do a 3rd one," because that's the first feeling I felt from watching that, or once I was finished watching it, I was like, "They could totally make a 3rd movie."
Yeah,
They could totally and who I would love to and at the time, I'm glad they did it eventually, but I was like, "Man, I'm kinda glad if they're gonna do it, they should do a 3rd movie back at the Quick Stop."
right.
But it'll be a newer movie, it'll have a lot more production value to it,
Mhm.
so we get that same feel of the 1st movie, but in a different spectrum.
Right. Like, I feel like we talk about, and I think we'll talk about when it comes to the third one, it was more of a not only a fan piece, but I feel like it was a really good, like, kind of think of it like a biopic for Kevin Smith when you really look at the situation.
Mhm.
But this one here with them buying the quick stop, which by the way, that song's probably my favorite song in the whole movie. That whole scene, the song that plays during that scene when they're going in and taking out all the trash and try to revamp the quick stop. You know, even like the whole sign, I assure you we're reopened, just harkens back to the first movie. It's a scene like that. You kind of get that's where you get Jay inside of the Bob saying, "Hey, look, we do have the money. We will help you buy it." But even though I didn't like the second thing that came out of their mouth, but it's like they said, "You give us our spot and you don't call the cops."
Yeah.
And then the second one was, but
And that was kind of a feel-good moment too because you see the problems that they have with Jay and Silent Bob in the 1st movie, but then you also see it transpire in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
yeah,
Um it's kind of a cool moment because it's like an understanding, like, you know, "Hey, we're willing to help you, but, hey, you gotta help us," or you gotta you know,
there's got to be an
it's a
agreement
two-way
here.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I think that was kind of my weak points with the third one, is just because I do feel like some of that did go away a little bit with how Jay was, especially with them.
Mhm.
But, but that's why I said like that scene, like even seeing Becky pregnant and getting together with her, I thought that was probably one of my favorite scenes is when he drives up through the drive through.
Mhm.
Because it's at this point, this happens during the whole donkey show, which we will not go into context here because it's not. But that's when you have,
Interspecies erotica, get it right.
yeah, like when you have Dante, his ex fiance, pretty much breaks things off with him, um, and he proposes to Becky because that's what his true love is, and that goes back to that whole jail monologue. Is that he says he doesn't even want to realize that he's just settling for somebody instead of realizing there's somebody here who truly does love him and for who he is. And that's Becky. You know, Becky, like we said, and I know we'll talk about it later on, Becky was a highlight to me for this film.
Mhm.
She really was. She was that catalyst for change. She was that catalyst to move forward. But I feel like with that ending, it really did symbolize a lot with Kevin Smith. Like, this is who I am, and I accept that.
Yeah,
Now I have
for sure.
to moving forward. Um, but this goes into kind of our last point here, and then we go into our what we love and stuff. But little fun fact before we get into this. You ready? Did you know in 2019 Kevin Smith actually bought the Quick Stop?
That's amazing. I'm so happy he did that.
He bought the Quick Stop that he once worked at. Because remember, Clerks was shot where he worked at. He did not do this on a separate location. It was where he worked. So he bought that location and he owns that now. A lot of spots in New Jersey, I believe he owns, even the old movie theaters that he used to go to, and everything. He owns that now.
Oh, that's cool.
But like, even one of the other fun facts about this too is that he was prompted to make this movie because of a promise he made to Jason Mewes. If Mewes managed to stay off drugs and get better, he would be able to play the character of Jay one more time. Because originally they weren't going to bring him back because of that whole drug situation and all that. Then they got better and they brought him back. Because this is not the only movie that we see him in from here on out. We see him in Jay and Bob Rebooted. We see him in Clerks 4,
Zach and Mary.
Zach and Mary. It just, that's what I said. That was a good part. Like Jason Mewes, I know we kind of talked about in the last episode. Jason Mewes has turned his life around quite a bit where he was. And, to see the person he is now and being able, now he has a family, now he has all that. And it's good for him. Like,
Well, and that's the thing about this movie too, with him in it. It's kind of like like you were just talking about, like a symbolism of how his life was in real life now. Like, hey, Jay is now the newly improved Jay in Jay and Silent Bob. You know what I mean?
Jay's Dante. When you really
Exactly.
think about it, that's exactly what you can look at it. But Pat, I think we got our next order coming in. I think we need a
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a J4F Gauntlet on Kevin Smith movies. This time, it's ya boy, Patty B's turn to do a little gauntlet.
Yes.
I'm ready, B-Dawg. Let's do it.
So I'm pulling up your list here. I need to get it back up. Okay. So I'm gonna change some stuff up here a little bit to really make you think about it. I did change one of your movies because this is similar to the same list Pat gave me, but now it's time for Pat to go down this gauntlet to see how he would rank it. I did change a couple out just because some of them weren't needed, but let's go into it. I'm going to start you off with I feel his two worst ones.
Okay.
Tusk.
On my tail wagon.
Let's go Tusk and Zach and Mary.
I'll do Zach and Mary.
Zach and Mary. Okay.
That's a good one. There's a lot of good jokes in that movie.
We'll go Zach and Mary or Yoga Housers. Yeah, that's a Kevin Smith film.
I'm going to go with Zach and Mary.
All right. So we go to Zach and Mary or Chasing Amy.
Don't hate me on this one, but I think I got to go with Zach and Mary.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Chasing Amy. Just not.
Killed my spirits there.
Sorry. I knew I would. I'm sorry.
Zach and Mary or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
There we go. You'll be like, you better get back on the right track with that one. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back or Red State?
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Okay. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back or Mallrats?
Mallrats. For sure, Mallrats.
I figured that.
Mallrats is so good. Mallrats is almost a perfect movie, dude.
Mallrats or Clerks 3?
For nostalgic reasons, and just because I've also seen Mallrats a lot more actually. I'm gonna go with Mallrats.
Okay. Mallrats or Dogma?
That's the tough one right there.
I know those are two of your favorite movies from him. But you do have to choose one.
Gotta give me Dogma, man. Dogma is a classic.
Okay. Dogma or Jersey Girl?
Man, you're making it tough.
I told you I was gonna.
Jersey Girl is a fantastic movie. I think everyone should check that movie out. It's it might not be super popular, but I do think, George Carlin's great in it.
Yeah.
We get J-Lo in it. Ben Affleck's really good in it too. I gotta go with Dogma.
Okay. Dogma or Clerks 2?
Yeah. Knew that was coming. Give me Dogma.
Dogma, okay. And then your last
Yeah,
one is Dogma or Clerks?
I knew that was coming. All right. Well, I think this solidifies what my favorite Kevin Smith movie is, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, I'm going with Dogma, man. It's such a good movie. Great cast. Alan Rickman is fantastic as the Metatron. Behold the Metatron.
Megatron.
Power of the voice of the one true God. Behold the Metatron.
Matt
Yeah, it's
Damon
so.
and
What are you gonna do? Hit me with that fish?
like even like
What are you going to do? Hit me with that fish?
I loved Jay and Silent Bob in that. I like
Yeah,
Salma Hayek's in that film. Lost
that's
World. You know,
dude, that movie's so good, man. I don't care what anyone says. There was a fun fact about that. Linda Fiorentino regretted how she treated Kevin Smith on
oh,
that
I
set.
bet you she did. Like,
Yeah, because they originally wanted Janine Garoppolo for it, and she's actually in the movie as one of the Planned Parenthood people.
yes.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Dogma. Check it out. Chris Rock, Sammy Hayek, Jason Lee is fantastic in this movie
Matt
too.
Damon and Ben Affleck are in this movie, you know.
I'm a Damon.
But fans, let us know how you guys who would come out on top of your gauntlet here. But it's time to get back to our shift at movies. So Pat, let's go into this. What would you say is some of your favorite scenes in this film compared to dislikes in this?
Well, as I said earlier, I love how they set a tone instantly in this movie where they go from the black and white to color.
Yeah.
And then I love how they followed it up with everything that transpires in the movie, goes into the ending, and the ending goes back to black and white because they're back where they belong.
Right.
And back to being normal.
Right.
I think that's what we talked about in this earlier in this, is that this movie is all about change and all about adapting to change.
Right.
The comedy in this film is fantastic. Obviously raunchy. We got some dirty parts and it got some pretty offensive parts. But like I said, it's a different time frame.
No,
Couldn't make this movie. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention too, and didn't really bring it up yet, but fantastic soundtrack in this movie.
Oh yeah. This is probably
Soundtrack.
that's why I said like they did an upgrade, which again that kind of goes with the production value and what they had to offer. You know, like you have Jackson 5's ABC, you had the song at the end, I can't remember the name of that song. Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins.
Alanis Morris. It's another, and that's another thing, another collaboration. Alanis Morissette.
Yeah,
She plays God in Dogma, and she does song. I think she did a song for Jersey Girl as
I
well,
think
or
so.
they had one of her songs in it, but they did the same thing here.
Yes, I remember that part. I remember. Well, you also have, like we said, Smashing Pumpkins had a song in here, which I know you don't like that song. I enjoy that song. That's
It's a good
1975.
song. This in the movie, it's more of like a.
That's probably my favorite song of theirs. Like I can't listen to them all the
It's
time.
used in a more serious scene where Dante's trying to find himself and trying to find how to make it right.
Yeah. Well, like that, I think it's called 1975 is that song because I have it on my
79. Yeah. 1970.
1979. That's one of my only favorite song of theirs. I don't like the Byron. I hate that song. I can't stand it.
You know, like that. The world is a vampire.
I like the beat to that song, but I hate his singing in that song. Like,
It always reminds me of that show, if anyone's watched it, Whale Wars.
yeah,
Terrible show. But that was the theme song. It introduced me. The world is a vampire.
have you ever seen Black Adam? The
No, I have not.
Okay, literally, that's one of the first songs in the movie. And I'm like, yep, this is gonna be a terrible film.
Yeah, way to set this movie on the right tone, dude.
I was like, bullshit. Nope, I'm done. Like,
Yeah. How about no?
no.
No, the talking head song at the very beginning, covered in flowers or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
This was a big
Great song, dude.
Yeah.
Now it's a covered oasis.
Oh, got it.
You
Yeah,
got it.
you
You
got it.
got it. And Mr. Honky Tonk. Yeah, it was.
And
And then
7-Elevens.
you got it.
You got it.
Um,
That's gonna be the name of
no,
the
they
episode.
and
You got
another
it.
thing, not to sound repetitive, but another thing too is like I said,
You got
I
it.
think this movie was shot very well.
Yeah.
It was able to capture a lot of important parts of it, and the way they did it made it more impactful. The way they, especially the jail scene, how that's filmed.
Oh, yeah.
They show the quote above
The Bible
Dante when
verse.
he's sitting down. Yeah,
Yeah. That's what I was about to say.
so
That was
good.
probably one of my favorite shots is when Dante's sitting right underneath that Bible verse, and it's
Mhm,
just a gray wall just with the look. It was just a great shot. Um, even to I think, like I said, we haven't really even talked about the two other characters. Like we said, Becky. Becky's one of my favorite parts of this film. This is actually, like I said, where I got my crush for Rosario Dawson to come into play.
mhm,
I really enjoyed her character through this film. You see the change within her come into
for
play.
sure.
Like, she's the catalyst for change. She is the one that makes Dante really think if this is her and Randall kind of were like, is this what's best for you, or are you just settling with what's good for you now?
Mhm.
Mm.
And the thing about Dante and Becky in this movie, what I noticed and what I liked about that is how subtle their relationship starts out to be.
Exactly.
Because, there's, like, certain tendencies and, like, notes you look for and how like, when she's reading that letter, which I'm assuming is, pregnancy test
Yeah.
results, but she's looking at it like this, and then Dante comes in, she's like, "Just puts it down," but the way it's executed, I think, is so nonchalant
Yep.
to where you don't really pick up on it at first. And I think the more and more I watched it going back for this, I was like, "That's kinda cool." Like, I don't know if they made that a focal point to be a little bit more cautious with that, but it just works so well, I think, and then it leads up to the point of we're having a dance, we're having that fun moment, on the roof, and then she's like, "I'm pregnant," and then everything
Oh yeah,
the
he
movie
drops her and
yeah. Well, the whole movie just changes a tone like that, and then we thought this movie was kinda funny and a little raunchy, then we really pick up the raunchiness in this
yeah.
movie, and shit just goes haywire.
I
Um,
I kind of want to piggyback on that because that was one of my favorite scenes as a dance scene. Now, I didn't like everything with that dance scene because I didn't mind Kevin Smith and Jay and Silent Bob doing their thing. But when they had that whole group shot, it was kind of okay, this is kind of stupid. We're getting a little too carried away here. Like they already got carried away with Kevin Smith being in the bathroom trying to pee and dancing to the song.
mm,
But come on, like that part was like, but going to the most important part of that is that scene where you see him just look into Becky's eyes when they're dancing. You
yeah,
see that
yeah,
love between the two of them.
for sure.
Ryan O'Halloran, I think people don't give him a lot of credit. That guy can act his chops off. And he does it so well, and especially him and Rosario just bounce off each other too. They work so well together. Just you see the love that he feels for her during that whole scene. Every time you see that he could be happy with her compared to what he could be happy with um I can't even remember her name. That's how bad it is. That's one of the characters I hated the most.
Who,
Kevin
his
Smith's
wife?
wife.
Or her name's Emma Hick
Thank
or
you.
Emma
Yeah,
Bunting, maybe?
Emma,
Or
like the future Mrs. Hicks, what's on her shirt.
yeah, yeah.
But Emma, it's just one of those characters. Like I'll put it out there. Emma's not one of my favorite characters in this film. I felt like I feel like I get it.
I don't think she's anybody's, although I do like that last scene we get with her when she
Yeah.
finds out, when obviously we go to the show at the end,
Mhm.
and
She shows
she
up.
sees what's going but the only thing I wanna say from that scene, and we won't talk about what actually happens, but with what is happening, and you guys can watch it for yourselves, the going away present for Dante. And then we got not only that, but we have Rosario Dawson showing up to it, and then Dante is like, "Yeah, I love you," and then she's like, I'm like
You want to do
utterly
this
just
now?
yeah, you get this now, and not only that, and then we get then we get Emma coming with a cake and everything, like, "Oh, I came to surprise you,"
Oh,
and they're all making out or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
and
my favorite
then
part where
it just
Jay's like, "How can you be so turned on during something like this?"
and then, she's like, kicks him in the nuts and then throws the cake at his face. Or no.
He throws the cake. She throws the cake at him, and then she throws the ring at Becky and says, "Have him," and calls
And
him.
then Jay's like, "Yo, hit this 2 times with this."
Yeah, and then see,
But I love the chaos in that scene.
yeah.
I love how it
Well, he
kinda
calls the
crescendo
cop.
falls that
He
and
called
like,
911
whatever
too
could go
before he jumped in, so all that comes in after.
yeah, whatever could go wrong is
With
going to go wrong. Yeah, it did go wrong, yeah. So good.
and even
Man,
Elias,
I miss my donkey.
even Elias, we haven't even talked much about yet. Elias is such a great addition to this. Just that, like my favorite scene, you probably can already guess the whole nerd chat between the
Yeah,
two of them. The whole
one ring to rule them all. Yeah,
at one ring to find them, and
yeah.
like that.
There was only one trilogy, and it ain't of the king, it's of the
Well,
Jedi.
Will, that's how we do. It's like how many times you watch Return? I've watched it. Like that's how we
Fucking
are. And then it's like there's only one return, and it's not of the king, it's of the Jedi. And, oh, Star Wars geek, like it just shows you that banter back and forth between the two, and him ending it with him like my favorite scene in that whole movie. Even though I love Lord of the Rings, I would actually say nowadays I actually like Lord of the Rings more than I like Star Wars. I know that's a big thing, but I also feel it's because of the shows and everything that we've gotten so far, and they're terrible. Except the cartoon shows, but like the whole scene is like, this is what happens in the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
and then here comes the second scene, and he's like, it,
You ready for the 3rd
everyone,
movie?
and then the guy over there. I was like, okay.
He's like, "Even the trees talked in that movie." Or even the trees walked in that movie.
And then he brings up the endings that was so good about it,
Oh, yeah.
and then he's like, you, and then it's like, what the
Like, "Where do we keep the cleaning products? I just made some super geek puke all over the counter, and I'm gonna make Elias clean it up."
that scene just made me laugh so hard. But Elias, like, even like, okay, shut up, GoBot, or shut the F up, GoBot. Like the whole scene when he just gets all pissed off. And then when their bully comes, or their old high school
Yeah.
comes in, and he goes, oh, if you ever need somebody to run like a Transformers website, I'd love to run. Nobody wants to talk to you about the GoBots, He goes, whoa, 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 whoa. GoBots are like
Don't
the Kmart version of Transformers. Thank you. It's like, well, it's like, what? Like, there's just so many good scenes in this that made me really appreciate it. Elias was one of those big parts just because he was that humor you needed. You needed that young version. I feel like, again, another symbolism to what they were. This is their innocence. This is all this. And now at the end, it's like, sorry, Jesus. I'm not going to say what happens during that scene, but it makes me laugh the most. That was probably the one scene that made me go, I like this kid for a reason. Like, it just, um, and then what he does in the third movie, that made me laugh even more. But I just really I've grown to actually appreciate this film a lot more over the years. One of the other shots I want to bring up that I really love, and we talked about it with the whole Smashing Pumpkins song, is when he stops at that restaurant and he sees Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin
Mhm.
Smith's daughter, and he waves, like her turning around, just waving at him. I thought that was just really well done shot. It was a really well done
Yeah.
shot from beginning to end with that, because he's realizing too at that point, like, he, like you said, he's accepting being a father. He's accepting that, and he's finding out what he really wants. And I think at that point, having that scene when he dries off and does that, there was just really good moments in this film that made me actually appreciate it more. than I once did.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad because I know when we've talked about this one or just mentioned it, you've always kind of given it the cold shoulder, and
and then
I'm glad that I'm around you watching it a little bit more. I mean,
and I still
that's fun.
love it. I think that's the thing that I think I try to come across, like, I will still watch this film just because of the humor, but I feel out of all of them, it's the most grotesque humor, it is the most raunchy
For sure.
humor, so for me, and especially some of the stuff that Kevin Smith pulled in this film, it kinda shocked me because it was just
Mhm.
like, "Seriously? Like, you're gonna do this? This is" like I tell you, that whole scene like we talked about, with Randal saying something he shouldn't have said,
Mhm.
it shocked me that Kevin Smith pulled that, because to me, you don't ever see that in any film that he has done.
Mm-mm.
Even Zack and Mary kinda put a, like, "Oh, ho," like, kinda moment in his career, but even then, not as bad as that scene. That scene was probably my most least like, it's one of my least favorite scenes in all movies is that scene, just because it was just like, why did you need that? Why did you need to address it that way? And it was that's where I just went I think after that, I went, "This is too much for me." Like, this is why I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I just don't care for the scene. Wanda Sykes not my favorite person either, and she shows up in this film.
Yeah, I'm not a big Wanda Sykes fan
So
myself,
when I
so you're
see her
good.
in a film, I'm just like, "No, I'm good." Like, I just but I think it's time to go into our rankings, Pat. How do you rank this on a scale of 1 to 10?
So, yeah, I'm gonna go pretty straightforward with this one.
We'll
It's a great
we'll
movie.
go 1 to
I
10
love
cow
it.
tippers.
1 to 10 cow tippers. I'm gonna go with 7.6 cow tippers on this one. Um, I think it's a solid movie. I It's rewatchable, yes, but it's not one that I go out of my way to watch either.
No.
Um, I gotta be really in the mood for this one,
Yeah,
personally.
it takes that's why I said mine's close to you, mine's a 7.5 cow tippers. Like, I like it, that's why I said it was close to 8. I wouldn't give it over a 9. I give it a 7.5 cow tippers. I like it, but I agree with you. You have to be in the right mind frame to watch this. It's not for the faint of heart. You know, if you know enough about Kevin Smith, you'll appreciate the film. Um, but you going in, like for me, when I watched it the first time, I didn't know tons about Kevin Smith.
Mhm.
So me going in, I just went, this is raunchy as hell. Like, this is
Yeah.
not a movie for me. I don't like this type of humor. But when you get behind it, it actually kinda makes sense, and it's kinda funny. You know, you have fun with it. Like you said, there's moments when I'm sitting there listening like, "That was funny, like, that was good," you know, "That was
Yeah.
clever," or, "Hey, that was a good way to do it." But there are a lot of scenes that you go, "Why the hell did you need that? Why did you need to do this?" You know?
The whole, mouth troll and
Oh, yeah,
the
that scene kinda made me go, "What the f" Like, it was a clever way to
little
do it.
pants. Yeah.
But fans, I think this is a great way to hand out of this episode. We want to hear your thoughts about Clerks 2. What do you love? What do you not love? Do you see the symbolism that we saw with Kevin Smith? I know a lot of people, and even Kevin Smith has brought up a lot of symbolism through this film, through his life. Do you guys feel the same way? Remember to check out J4F Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Also, check us out on Spotify and YouTube. If you like this content, want more of it, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit that bell notification so you never miss an episode. And without further ado, I'll turn over to Patty B to take us out.
Yeah, thank you guys for, listening. This was a fun show. Was really looking forward before this to doing this movie in particular, and I'm glad we did, man. Thank you, B-Dawg, as always. And remember, we do it just for flicks.